When it comes to planning a retreat, there's ways to get it to go from average to incredibly transformative. Welcome to Retreat Boss, where we speak about inspired travel for fun, transformation, and profit. Guest experts will give you their tips and tricks on creating the most impactful retreats, both for you and your clients. Whether you want a meditative getaway, a wellness trip, or a business escapade, we provide you with the best advice in organizing and hosting a tremendous event. Join Catherine Contos as she talks with fellow experts about creating exclusive and successful retreats. Dive deep into the most unique activities, the best destinations to visit, and the most uplifting trips out there that you can discover. Here is your host, Catherine Contos. Hey everyone, Catherine here, and this is Retreat Boss, the podcast. And today I'm so excited to have Maruxa Murphy. She's an award-winning community experience designer, strategist, entrepreneur, author, and catalyst for change who has been transforming communities in person and online since 2000. Her clients include Kajabi, Netflix spiciest show Sex, and more. And her work has been featured in Forbes, Fox News, Reader's Digest, and the list just goes on and on. Maruxa, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Catherine, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
When I first heard about you, I was like, I've got to meet her. And the email went out like instantly. Because, retreats are all about community, and who better to connect with than someone like you who has been super, super successful in building communities. And, I'm like, I got to meet this girl. I got to meet this girl. And I'm so happy we did. Thank you for being on the show today. I know you're going to bring a lot of value to my listeners and to clients and to other retreat leaders and to anybody in the community space.
It is such an honor to be on your show. I mean, I agree. The minute we were told about each other, I was like, who is this amazing Catherine that I keep hearing about? And I've been for those who are listening, like we've had so much fun getting to know each other. I feel like I met a sister.
I know.
And it's just been such a wonderful, wonderful experience getting to know you.
Yeah, it's been an amazing connection. And I'm excited every time I speak to you because I know something great is going to come out of the conversation every single time. So, so tell me and tell our listeners a little bit about you and how you got started. How did this fall in your lap, or did it fall in your lap? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like the way my family is very multicultural, multiracial family. And my whole life was basically built through community. So in some ways, the way in which I got into it was just because I was born into a massive family. My mom is one of 11 children. My dad is one of 7 children, Roman Catholic on both sides. So, lots and lots of children. I'm one of 39 first cousins just on my mom's side. And my grandmother she's Puerto Rican Jamaican. Okay. And she married a Filipino Chinese gentleman, my grandfather. And both, all 4 of those cultures are very family oriented. And my grandmother grew up in a time where it was very much, there was a lot of violence in her family of origin. So she made a commitment that her family that she would raise would be one of unconditional love. So growing up, Catherine, I literally felt like I was in this embrace that she said, she was like, you guys are going to screw up, you're going to mess up, but I just want you to always know I will love you anyway. And so, let's imagine, Catherine, you and I were friends in high school, because I can totally imagine that we were. Mm-hmm. And you would come over to my mamita's house. That's what we would call my grandmother, my mamita. And we would go to her house and she would come over to you and she'd say, Catherine, it's so nice to meet you. Give you the biggest hug and kiss, and then welcome you in to the home and make sure you're well fed. And, and at her funeral, she had over 500 of our family friends at her funeral, all these many years later, simply because of the woman that she was. So I grew up in this space where that was just my normal. Now, I went to college, and I went to a college that didn't feel like there was unconditional love. In fact, I felt very much like an outsider. And I learned quickly that this experience that I was having was not, it was not okay. Like when you have someone in your life that's given you this sense of unconditional love, and then family that reflects that over and over again, like I've been blessed with, it was such a moment of dissonance for me. And I made a commitment to myself, I just got a full ride scholarship to this institution. I have to make this place my own because my parents are two immigrant parents. They can't afford to send me anywhere if I didn't have a full ride scholarship. So I had to make this my own. And what I did was, over those 4 years of being an undergrad, I ended up helping really create and transform that college. I created a program. I was part of creating a mentorship program that the college even attributes to having created and maintained over $24 million to the campus because of it. We saw an increase from 5% to 22% students of color. And we saw a retention rate from 35% to 65%. Huge in just 4 years. 4 years. And that work that we did back in 2000 or 1998 to 2002 really then spun into what is the college still to this day, which is really now focused on community, global citizenship, social entrepreneurship, And that was my start. I went on and I continued on to develop over 200 communities and see these visionaries and these impact-driven leaders and community builders go from just having communities that feel so kumbaya to actually starting to tangibly see revenue being generated while also feeling really human and connected and loving. It's actually possible. And we would create these additional 6, 7, and sometimes 8 figures of revenue for my clients because of how we brought the both and the heart and the art and the science of community building to one another to create something that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I can completely relate to the college thing because I have my daughter who's going through that and my friends' kids that are going through that, where they went from like a smaller space where their community was really strong to this, thousands and thousands of kids or adults now, but, and they feel kind of like they feel completely disconnected and very lonely in a crowd of people. So that's amazing that that college continues to do this because they saw obviously how it works, and I think they would other colleges would learn a lot from what you did there. It's a very well needed. They do so much better in school. They feel a part of something. It's so important. Now you went from that. Obviously, you saw you had a knack for it, a talent for it. What made you go into business doing this and becoming a community architect?
I honestly had no idea this was even my thing. I mean, I went to school, I got my master's in mental health counseling. My first career was in building community on that campus. I was director of multicultural affairs at 26. I was going to work for the embassy. I wanted to become an international embassy, ambassador, for the United States. I really wanted that. But as I continued to develop my leadership, what I started to realize was that, man, I am kind of good at creating community. I'm good at helping people feel themselves. And then in 2009, so that was, my first part of my career, I became, director of multicultural affairs. I left that world because I was working 100 hours a week. And while I was making like $42,000 a year, something like that. And I was like, okay, this doesn't work. I found out I was pregnant with my oldest in 2008. And I just knew that I was going to choose to give up my career and stop working those crazy hours. But I did need to figure out how to make money because that was what I wanted to do and what I needed to do for our family. At the same time, my now ex-husband, but good friend of mine, was going into online marketing. And so he and I kind of joined forces with a gentleman named David Fry in Houston, Texas. David had this idea to create summits, online summits, that we would basically take conferences where we'd go in person, but just now bring it online. And it was because of the recession here in the United States that, really kind of catalyzed this. So I said, Dennis and I said, my ex-husband and I said, let's go see what we can do and see if we can create this. Well, Catherine, we ended up going and working with David. We had to build like HTML websites from scratch, calling, picking up a cell phone, a phone, like a landline. And
It's
years
funny
later,
that we have to be like, wait, let's be more specific. It was not a
yeah,
cell phone.
it was not even a cell phone. We had our landlines and we picked them up and we called instantteleseminar.com back then. And we recorded the phone. Remember that? And then we recorded the calls, put them on the HTML, website that we built, and we sold access to these summits, these conferences. And we were one of the first, if not the first, to do this, right? So it was pretty profound in 2009. We grew a community of 250,000 people at that point. And my intention at that time was like, how can I figure out how do I bring what I was doing in person that was so juicy and really fun to create these connections, but now how do we do this online? So I got kind of obsessed with figuring out like, okay, after every summit, we did about 22 summits together with David. And so after every summit, I'd be like, okay. And during the summit, I'd be like, okay, how do we create more connection? How do we and I got obsessed with it, like trying to figure this out in the virtual space because it's, as we all know, it's not the same.
Right.
So 250,000 people started building community with us alongside these summits. And that was incredible. And that really sparked for me this whole new desire to understand the science of creating online communities. From there, I ended up growing some pretty significantly sized communities. Some for those clients that were on those seminars or those summits, many of them would be like, hey, can you help me build my community? So I would do that with them. But then others, just would come along. And one of them was this group that when I lived in Austin, Texas, called the Austin Moms Network. We ended up growing it to about 30,000 women. It's a huge part of the Austin community now, still 10 years later. We have partnerships with grocery stores, nonprofits to support moms because it takes a village to raise a mom.
Right.
And Facebook actually came to us in 2017 and said, hey, yeah, you have a really engaged community. I thought I was in trouble because they messaged me on Messenger. and I thought I was in trouble. I was like, did I do something wrong? Like, no. Zuckerberg has been really excited about what he's seeing with groups and communities. And we see yours. How are you doing it? And can we highlight you? And can we throw a block party on the streets of Austin, Texas for Mother's Day in partnership with this moms group? And I was like, yes, all of it. Yes, let's go. Yeah. So it was one of those experiences, Catherine, where I was like, wow, if Zuckerberg is paying attention to what we're creating with engaged communities, this is something
for sure
that I need to be paying attention to, the fact that this is a strength of mine, but also that this is the world we're about to embark into. And so I doubled down at that point and started to really design more intentionally since then.
And recently you launched the Revolutionaries.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me a little more what it is to be a leader in that group. What would that signify? Revolutionary leader in the community space.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing to do is to maybe break down what both of those things mean first, because I think if that's okay with you, because I think often like we get caught up in the word communities because we don't know what that term means. Yeah. Because it's often bastardized, I think, in the space of marketing. To me, there's a huge difference between community and audience. And I think recognizing what those are is going to help all of us to understand then what I mean by a revolutionary community. So if we think about audiences, right, we think oftentimes sometimes people mix up community and audience, but an audience actually is a one-directional conversation with people that are creating with the intention to create aha moments. Like we want the light bulbs to go off. So like, for example, like right now with the podcast, people are listening in and they're hearing me. This is in essence me audience building, right? I'm building my own audience in partnership with you, and you have an audience who's listening in to the podcast.
Right.
It's one directional. The intention then is to invite them to deepen the relationship in a place or a space where we can start to really get to know each other in another level of connection, right? And that is really where community then stems. To me, community is an opportunity where two or more people come together around a specific interest, that want to really deepen and connect further about that. The conversation is less, it's not me talking to you, it's us in a conversation. And so now we can imagine, let's say we have 100 people in a room, you have multiple conversations happening at the exact same time about the thing to deepen the conversation about the thing, right?
Right.
So it is a place the intention there is obviously to deepen relationship. It's also to build more trust. It's also to get to know others who care about the thing that they care about.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about revolutionary communities, I'm really looking at communities that are shifting conversation, innovating in a space that oftentimes in an area of interest that isn't really necessarily spoken about too often, right? Or really looking at something from a different angle and making strides in their industry because of that. Or maybe creating systemic change as a goal, right?
It's,
And taking actions around that as well.
it sounds very close to what a mastermind would look like, right? Do you agree with that? There's kind of like this goal that everybody is maybe from different backgrounds, but want this same goal.
Yes, very much so.
Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. I think, again, I'm a big fan of really getting clear with our words. And I think mastermind oftentimes has been so overused. So sometimes
Yes.
it looks like coaching, and sometimes it looks like actual, what masterminding was supposed to be, where people come in with a challenge and all the masters and their minds come onto the challenge.
Right.
As the revolutionaries, we actually shifted the name to a brain trust, more so for that reason, right? So we are, but in essence, it's like a mastermind, but it's building such trust amongst a group of folks who are very much innovators in their space, and also the genius, bringing their genius into the conversation to better improve the conversation even more. So
and on its own, doing that, you build a community because everybody's just taking part. Their little piece has been placed in this, whatever it is, whatever you're trying to create or build, or the momentum you're trying to create over something. Just to go back to some of the things that I've seen, a community that I was a part of and built very quickly because there was an urgency behind it, had a lot to do with advocacy for, government policy concerning families being separated during COVID through border closures. And wow, when you have that urgency, also the community builds so strong and so fast, and everybody jumps on. Leaders, we had government leaders, involved in there. We had, the government of Canada, which is where I'm based, calling us, telling us, come speak with us. We need to know what you're talking about and what the problem is, or what the problems are. So it was an incredibly fast movement. And because we all had plenty of time, we were very invested, full-time, working on this, because most of us weren't working either. So it's like a tornado. It just spirals like crazy when you've got it also with that urgency factor on it. So it's a different type of community, but it's still a community that still exists. And the bonds were very, very strong because of the passion that everybody had involved in this. So, and you saw the masterminds, who everybody had a specialty, on like some people were good on social media. Some people were good, I don't know, speaking. Some people were good at getting press, awareness and all of that stuff. So it was incredible to watch firsthand. And in the retreat space, obviously, it's very, very important. So how would these retreat leaders who are very new, sometimes they come to me and they're like, Catherine, I want to start a retreat. And, and I'm like, well, what's your community like? Like, do you have people engaged in your social media? Do you have networks? What do you have? And they're like, well, I have, let's say 20,000 people following me. Okay. How many of them have actually shown up for any of your workshops or, and 10, so you're like, ooh, we've got to work on that because the numbers don't matter here. Right. So how would these people go out and find their community and find people to join their community.
Have you ever wanted to start your own retreat but didn't know how? RetreatBoss has the solution for you. We offer blogs, we offer podcasts with expert advice, but we also offer courses on helping you create your own transformational and very profitable retreats. If you want to know more, go to RetreatBoss.com and you will find everything you need to make that switch.
I love that question. I always say, one of my very good friends is a woman named Kate Buck, and Kate was one of the first ever social media managers that created a certification program. This is like back in 2009, 2010. So she and I we always say we're like soul sisters in the sense of within the work that we're doing, because I'm her, she does social media and I do community. And so we're very much hand in hand, like retreats are as well, right? So it's all, and I think oftentimes people they want so badly to just focus on community, but they forget that the first part of building community is to get in front of the people that could be part of that community, right? So we need to make sure that we're really dialing in, what is that message? What is that voice? What is the voice that who are you? What do you stand for? Mm-hmm. And really start to build out that message and consistently in such a way that allows you to start building that audience first and foremost. Yeah, that's super important, whether it's through social media, whether it's through in-person local networking, whether it's through strategic partnerships and collaborations. However, we need to focus to build that initial audience and then nurture them through community. That's how you move them into community. I think, again, to your point, when we're new and we know what the outcome is and we really want that, it gets so hard to want to focus on the thing that's going to bring the people in. It's like, to me, it's like working out. I hate working out. And my ultimate goal is to, have muscles that are really, whatever, like toned and it feels really good. But I don't always want to do the things that will get me those toned muscles. Right. And I think that's a lot of us who run retreats, right? We get anxious about the front part of building our audience, but we need to focus on that. We need to really do that and then build a model where then they're moving into a space where you can deepen and build that aligned experience with you.
And
now,
sorry, go ahead.
I can say a lot. Yeah, it's okay. A lot of people will say to me, well, how many people do I need on social media? I always say, find first your first 100 people. That's your first goal. If you're brand new, find your first 100 people that really resonate with you. Okay. And so I don't mean find 100 people. I actually mean probably find 1,000, because from that 1,000, you'll find that there is 100 folks that really resonate with you, that really are aligned in fully. I like to think of it that way, because then I get those 100 individuals, and then I get to really have a conversation with them, invite them into a community. Now that community could look like every week on Tuesday nights, we have tea together, and we meet on Zoom and we get to know each other. That could be as simple as it is. Right. It could also be you have a Facebook group, or, get a little bit more sophisticated and have a community on another platform. All right. It doesn't, to me, the platform, it has to be in service to what it is that is your vision. But we need to start with what is our core message? What are our values? What is the voice that we really want to stand for in our space? And then move in the direction of bringing them together and creating those gatherings.
Right. So numbers don't really matter in the essence of when you're trying to create. I think it's quality of those numbers, right?
That's exactly. Yeah.
And what would you say to someone who comes to you and says, and I know the answer, but I want you to say it. I want to market my retreat. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. So my marketing's not working. People are not signing up, all of that stuff. What would you say the answer to that is, to fix that marketing aspect of it?
Oh, I love that question. There's so many different, I'd have to understand the person's experience and really look at where the hole is to diagnose. But the truth is, marketing is just it's just a piece of the process. It's about relationships first, right? So we want to be looking at our marketing, not so much as like, if all we're doing in our marketing is like screaming, to others, like, hey, I have a thing here. I have a retreat. It's about to happen in 2 months. Who wants to come? Then no one, most people are not feeling engaged by that. They're not, their heart is not, their heart isn't pulled. Their emotions have not been connected into what it is that you're building, right? They have no idea why is this for me? So when I look at my marketing, I want to look at a couple of different things. One, I'm going to look at, well, how do I imagine that this experience is going to be like for the person that I'm actually speaking to? And what do they care about right now? And I like to do an exercise where I really give myself permission to put myself in that person's shoes. Why would they show up? And get as specific as possible. So, for example, let's say you're running a retreat right now for moms who just had children, who have toddlers, right? So they had children in the last like 3 to 5 years, and they're exhausted women, right? But if we in our marketing were just like, moms, all tired moms out there, let's have a retreat and relax. Okay. But what if I really actually reminded myself of what it was like to be a mom of a toddler, right? And in my case, I had 3 toddlers at the same time. What was that like? It was so much. And I found myself, and if I put myself back in that version of Maruxa in her shoes, all I wanted in those moments was a break, right? And because I felt like I was drowning, exhaustion. I remember feeling like there were moments where I felt like I wasn't the right mom for them because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to be. And now I realize I was postpartum after my third, right? Postpartum depression, but I didn't know. But in those moments, I'm so like mired in, and I'm like feeling like I'm, up to my neck with diapers and spit up and exhaustion and husbands at work all day and so for me to really market an event to moms, I want to fully understand what that experience was like, get back into those moments and write from that version of self as if to her. And so when she looks at the words on a social media post, or if she hears me talking about it, she's literally leaning in because she was like, how did you know that this is my experience? How are you like reading my mind? You understand me so well. So we can't water down our words. We can't water down our content when we're marketing to, our retreats. We have to be really, really present about what it is that your person that you want to attend is feeling. What kind of pain is this person in right now that's leading them to want to say yes and see and have this retreat be the medicine that they've been wanting for themselves.
It's a people first approach.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Heartbeats first, they say.
And I always say to, my community, it's not about, just having anybody at your retreat. It's about having the right person at your retreat. So if you brand yourself in a way where your message and your vision and everything is like exactly how you want it to be, it'll hit exactly the people that you want to be at your retreat. You are literally vetting people in and out of your retreat just by who you are, what you represent, what you stand for, your values, all of that. And that attraction happens. And that's because of what you just said. You're speaking from a place of where that person is. Maybe you've passed it and now you want to help others. So you have to bring yourself back to that place and speak to them at the level they're at right now, which is, I need like a break. I need some time away from the children. I need some time to find me again. So,
right.
Yeah. What mistakes do you see people making while building a community?
That's a great question. I think the biggest mistake that I see is, and it's often happens to those of us who are very visionary and really want to see the transformation happen. So you're not alone. If you've done this, you're not alone. I literally, at 99% of the people that come to me are doing this. And that's why they come to me. So what happens often is they go into this place of like, okay, this is what the vision is for the retreat and the community. This is my voice and my space. And these are my values. I've got this, right? And they go straight from that all the way to building the community experience. So going straight to the retreat, building the retreat or building the online community, whatever kind of community, and then activating it. But what they do, and because they did that, is in essence build what I call the pyramid built on two sticks. They build a community that's so wobbly because it doesn't really have a strong foundation. A vision is beautiful. Your voice is amazing. And of course, if you know your values, that's an extra plus. Okay, that's like a third stick in there. Right. But the truth is it still sticks. It's not a solid foundation. We have to begin to think about, in addition to that, we need to think about what is the experience that we're creating, the value of the experience that's going to be designed for them, that when they experience it, the transformation just can't help but be, right? So we need to be thinking about that. So I say, if you find yourself in that place where you go straight from, those 3 V's or 2 of those V's, and then straight to building and activating the community and the retreat, then you're really missing out on the slowing down process so that you build it with such intention and such gorgeousness that it can't help but do the thing that you want it to do, right? So we need to start thinking about what is the experience that we're designing in here that has such deep intention that goes back into the vision, the values, and the voice. And it creates an identity. So the women, I'm thinking of women at this retreat that we just made up, like tired moms, yeah? These individuals that would be attending the retreat feel like they're part of something that's beyond them, that feels so like a warm blanket, something that really envelops them because they said yes to this experience and they want more of this. If we can create that level of transformation and imagine that our retreats can create that level of transformation, that changes everything. So we want to put a lot of attention and intention into building the culture of the retreat, the identity that is built because of the retreat, the culture design, the rituals design, that's all part of the experiential value. After we look at that, then we're also going to look at what I call your profit path. Now, a profit path is where, this is why, I build communities as part of companies and part of brands. It's because I like to also generate revenue. It's really fun to make money. So I like to, what I've done over the last, 20 years of my life is I started to actually track the different communities that I've built to see what are the profit pathways, and i.e. the blueprints, if you will, of creating a profitable community. And what we found is that over and over again, there's really only 5 profit pathways that have, when you put that blueprint down into and on top of the experiential value and the vision, the value and the voice, the 3 V's, you will be able to generate additional 6, 7, and possibly even 8 figures with a community that you're building. Right. But it has to be, but each of those 5 pathways has totally different blueprints, totally different ways in which you would design and implement that community for profitability. Again, just all dependent on what the core intention is. Some of them are for bringing in new people into your community, and some are for deepening that relationship for your community. And there's also some for those who are already raving fans of your community to continue to expand the brand, right? So there's multiple different ways you can see community and the profit pathways. From there, then we layer that with the offers. What are the offers? So they come to your retreat, then where do we take them? Is this it? Is the retreat it? Is that the final experience? And if that is, that's totally great. And how do we invite them, the members, to be able to continue to share about this retreat experience and continue to bring in even potentially more perfect retreat attendees? If it's a part of somewhere in the middle of your journey of working with a client, then what does that look like intentionally to move them through this retreat and onto the next experience with you or with your company, right? So we want to be very, very intentional about that. And this is really where it's such a beautiful orchestration. Once you have, again, those 3 V's, vision, values, voice, you layer that with experiential value, then you layer that with your profit path, and then your offers. And then, and only then, do we start building and then ultimately activating it. That's the process in which you start to build these profitable community experiences. And then we pay attention to what the numbers show us. What's working really well? What does engagement look like? How about sales? Is this moving the needle in the right direction? Where are the conversations falling apart? We want to look at all these data points once we activate so that we can continue to optimize the community and continue to support the community to know how loved they are, to know how much we care about them, and also for the company to be able to grow in the direction we would intend it for the company to grow.
Wow. Now I know why you're the master of community and I crown you as the queen. That was incredible value. Maruxa, thank you so much for all that. That makes you think more about the processes and the strategy that has to be thought of before just jumping into, okay, let's open a group. Some people, it does fall into their lap, kind of, like if they have really it's happened to me where whether it was business or community, where you do something and all of a sudden it blows up. But most of the time it's not that. And what you just said is really very thoughtful in everything that you do when you're building the community. And most people don't think that deep about that, most.
Totally. I mean, I grew up thinking community was just the way it's like breathing for me.
Right.
I didn't start off, dissecting how communities work. Actually, it wasn't really until 2020. Every community I built up till 2020 was so intuitive because it was so breathing for me. But when 2020 hit, the number one thing I wanted to do was to give back to our community and say, hey, I've been building virtual communities for a long time at this point. Let me just give away. And I did. I gave away everything. What it did is, yes, it helped triple our company in many different ways and was a huge blessing. But the only way I was able to do that was to slow myself down and say, whoa. While I was being really cute and intuitive for the first 20 years of my career, I can't do that if I really want to serve people in a more intentional way. What was it that worked? What was it that didn't work? And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, here are my profit paths. Whoa. And that's when I started to design the transformed community paradigm for us all to really understand while we can create this intuitively, there's such power in creating it with your intuition and with a process and plan. So you have a backup to partner with you. It's like a jousting partner, like to be like, okay, I want to create this and let's ensure that it actually gets there. Instead of just hope and pray that it makes it happen and we make it happen,
When you do things so intuitively, you have to actually, like you said, stop and say, well, how did I do that? Because it's easy for you. It's just you do it and it's just happening. So you had to literally dissect your every move and see what was profitable, what worked, what didn't work. What is it that makes it so easy for you? Even personality, that comes into it's a big part of it. Your personality. If you're not, I don't know, do you feel like someone that doesn't have the personality for community can still build a community? Because I think it helps. Right.
I love that question. Well, here's my thought. I mean, we could do a whole other podcast on personality and community, but this is something that I actually study quite a bit because I do have folks who are very, what is that word? I can never say it.
Methodologic. See
that word.
Yeah. Y'all know what we're talking about.
Methodology. They love the methodology.
There you go.
Methodology. Anyway, those. And so in some, and even in their own eyes, sometimes they're like, but I am so not that campaigner personality. I'm not, they're like, but I know I should build a community. I love, like my people love me. So what it is, it's actually learning how to build a community with your personality type and like who are your dance partners, right? So for me, I'm bubbly, but guess who I need? I need one of those people who love methodology to be a dance partner for me,
right?
Because I need that balance, right? They help oversee the actual infrastructure design when I'm in the, oh my gosh, what else can we create? And I like to be, and I'm out there more engaged with the community and vice versa. So everybody can play a part in the community, so that's kind of that's the fun part about it. It's just, we just need to know what is our personality type for our community as well. Yeah, that would be a really fun podcast, actually.
Yeah,
we should do that sometime.
Maybe a live or something. Time has run out. I can't believe how time passed. That was really quick. Where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? Whatever you have, let's throw it out there, because I really want people to just absorb everything you say, because everything that just happened in the past, 40 minutes or so, has been tremendous value. So I can imagine when they really get to connect with you, what you could do for them. So where can they find you?
I really appreciate that, Catherine. Thank you. The best place really is revolutionarycommunities.com, my website. Okay. You go there, you get access to what we have called the Insiders Club. Actually, we've just renamed it, called The Swell. It's our newsletter. It's our weekly newsletter. And what that does is it allows you to get tips and ideas and strategies on growing community. You'll get access to that transformed community paradigm, that model I just mentioned to you, that I described. So you can actually visually see that as well. And when you're there, then you'll be able to see how else we can play. Some people want to play through being part of our online community management association, or the Revolutionaries, or any of our playscapes. So, there's lots of different opportunities to engage. Also, LinkedIn is a wonderful place to connect. And I'm there often and would love to meet everyone here.
And just to add value to that, I'm part of the founding members of the association. So I'm very proud to say that. And so blessed to have this community. And I thank you for developing it. And I look forward to how that's going to blossom, because it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely, Catherine. Yeah. I am so glad. Yeah, you were like our pre-founder number 3, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like amazing that you are a part of that. And I'm so grateful that you are.
Thank you so much for making it happen. Thank you for being here today. And look out for this woman, everybody. She is on fire. Watch out. Everybody, this is Maruxa. Thank you for listening, and see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the RetreatBoss Podcast. When it comes to achieving wellness and transformation, nothing is more effective and profound than a well-orchestrated retreat. Achieve huge revenue growth, one trip at a time. Want to learn more on expanding your business with retreats? Visit RetreatBoss.com, when profitable retreats are made easy. Be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show at RetreatBoss.com/podcast. Until next time, take care.